I was on vacation. Well, the first week off, it's been 2 weeks since I made it. The first week off, I just kind of didn't make a video because I was lazy. But then the second week off, I was on vacation. So that's at least a valid excuse. For vacation, my family went to the Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. It was pretty awesome. It was obviously super photogenic, and that is kind of going to tie right into the point of this video. While I was there on vacation, my camera really never left my side. But unlike other times, I actually didn't film a whole lot of video. Instead, what I did was I focused on taking photos because I wanted to make like a photo album, and they're just kind of a lot more accessible when you're trying to make memories and share them with other people, etc. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of photo work, so a lot of it was kind of new to me. I was doing a lot of figuring out the settings and really learning how it works. And yes, I'm going to tie this in. That does help with videography and make your films better in the long run. But those sort of adjustments, getting to know your camera, getting to know photography really as an art, isn't exactly why I think photography has really helped me, really for a while, but especially over this past vacation, improve my film skills, my video skills. Speaking of, I'm a little underexposed here. How's that? Is that okay? That looks a little bit better. While we were in the Smoky Mountains, we went on a lot of hikes. And during those hikes, I always just had my camera with me. I was taking pictures, some landscape pictures. I was taking a lot of candid shots of the people that I was with to make those memories, you know. But I noticed the more and more I spent time taking candid shots, taking landscape shots, really just bringing my camera up, looking, seeing if that would look good in the frame or not. The more I did that, the more I started to see through, kind of like through the eyes of a camera, right? You get used to the feeling of what it's like to look at the scene in 13mm, 14, I don't even know what you're shooting, 70mm, 200, doesn't really matter. You kind of recognize the shots that are going to look good in certain focal lengths. All of these practices tie directly into cinematography, which is a big key to making good films, good looking films, things that keep people's attention and really get across the emotions you're trying to get across. Here's an example. Now this works just like videography. I'm going to use this photo as an example though. There are two ways I could have gone with this photo. I could have shot wide, something like 16mm, you know, something to give you the full big grand range of what it looks like to be in the mountains and how big the forest is. However, instead of doing that, I wanted to take a picture with a longer lens. I think this was on my 70-200. I wanted to keep it tighter, and I decided to keep it tighter because I wanted to get more of a claustrophobic feeling. In the trees and how the shadows are playing, I just kind of wanted that to be the main focus, and then really focus on the subject instead of, say, the grand landscape of the Smoky Mountains. Now, that's just one example. I took tons of photos. Are any of them really good? I think some of them are pretty good. They're nothing to like write home about. I'm probably not going to get any awards for them. But the longer vacation went and the more I kept the camera on me, kept taking those pictures, the more I started to see, wow, the light is looking really cool coming through those trees. And it's hitting this one certain area, and I want to use a thin, like a longer lens so I can focus on that. Or this is super cool, it's grand, and I want it, you know, wide. I started to learn how to express what I was actually seeing through my eyes through the camera, using different focal lengths, using different exposures, and then finally, of course, in the editing, I can kind of tweak that and make it exactly how I want it to be. That was the first thing that really improved my cinematography or my videography through photography, because yeah, you can kind of do the same sort of thing with videography, but there's really two main reasons that I found that you can't. Number one is videography, usually you need more gear. You have to lug around, say, a gimbal if you want those super smooth shots, or you want to have a microphone if you want audio, ND filters, just all these different variations that just make it a lot more difficult to film, because you have to dial that stuff in really kind of perfectly, especially your exposure and everything, before you start to film. Whereas with photography, you can just take a photo in the raw format and tweak all of that and edit. You don't even have to worry about it. Well, to a certain extent. So that's one reason why photography is better than videography. It's because you don't have to carry as much stuff and you can just kind of run and gun to see, things that look cool. The other reason is that if you're with a bunch of people who aren't also videographers, filmmakers, cinematographers, or even photographers, you're gonna get left behind if you're doing video. Because video takes a whole lot more time. You have to get things all right. You have to find the right angle, do the whole move, all that stuff. Photography, you just kind of click. Now granted, there were some times where I just got left behind anyway because I wanted to do a long exposure photo and I'm like dealing with everything and my ND filters, and they were like 2 miles down the trail by the time I finished up, but that would have happened more if I was doing videography. And the second reason that videography is more difficult to do and to learn actual cinematography, etc. with photos, as opposed to photos rather, is that there's way more things in videography to distract you from the most important thing that photography makes you focus on, which is what's actually occupying the frame. With videography, there's more to think about. What's your camera move going to be? What frame rate do you want to shoot it in? Do you want it to be slow motion? Should you have somebody walking in front? All of these things that, take up that space in your mind, where in photography, you can really focus all of that energy in. Is that tree in the right spot of the frame? Is the water coming down at a good angle? Am I following some of those rules of, what's the word I'm looking, like the rule of third, the stuff that just makes it look good? I've always found that if I'm doing videography, that kind of stuff can get lost a lot more, especially if I'm doing a sort of run and gun videography, as opposed to photography where that's really all you need to focus on. And the more you focus on those basics, those is the tree in the right spot type things, the more it's gonna come naturally to you. And then when you're filming your movie, your documentary, whatever it happens to be in the future, you're just gonna naturally do that. You're just gonna naturally see that tree isn't in the right spot. Or you might even not even frame it in that way in the first place and just naturally go into whatever looks the best. So yeah, all this sounds great, right? And do I suggest that you go out and do photo shoots, street photography, go, for a hike and just take pictures with your friends? Yeah, of course, absolutely, do that. I have some advice for you. This is super important because I did carry my entire bag of like 15 pounds of camera gear up a mountain and back for 13.2 miles.
Nothing like walking your first half marathon up a mountain.
So I, more than anyone, know that you're gonna want to pack light. So here is my advice to you before you go out to learn videography through photography. Yes, pack light, but what does this mean? Bring your camera, hopefully it's kind of a smaller mirrorless camera, and bring at the most 3 lenses. I brought 2 because I only have 2. I've got a 16 to 35 millimeter lens and a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Now, I'm on a 1.6 times crop sensor, so that actually works out to be like a 25.6 to 56 as the 16 to 35, and then the 70 to 200 turns into 136 to 320? I have it written down somewhere. I'm not that good at mental math. It's 112 to 320 for the 70 to 200. So those were my focal lengths. If you've got a full frame camera, they're going to be different. It's going to be wider or longer, whatever. But either way, that was totally a side tangent. Just bring zoom lenses. Okay, zoom lenses can be heavier. They can be bigger a little bit. But if you're going to be doing photography, the type of photography that I was doing, you're not going to want to be switching your lenses out all the time. I mean, prime lenses are great. They're super sharp. But trust me, you don't want to bring any more than 3, probably just the 2 lenses with you if you're going to go do a photo shoot or take photos while you're doing something else. Also, get one of these things. It's a shoulder strap for your camera. This was like $15 on Amazon. And yeah, you just hook the camera in there. It's on your side. You can pull it up. Vital. This also helps with videography because you can use it as a third contact point, and it makes it a little bit stabler with your camera. But we're talking about photography today, not videography. More practical advice. The people you're with, make sure that they know that you're bringing your camera. You're going to be taking pictures. Some people don't like it that much. And some people just aren't used to it. So the more that you do it, they're going to get more natural around it. They're going to forget that you're there. You're just going to take some nice candid shots like I do. But then if they see that the camera's there, they're going to kind of get all weird. Finally, always shoot in the raw format because it doesn't really matter so much about your exposure as long as you're between like a couple of ticks to the right or to the left of the exposure, you know, light or dark. You're going to be fine because if you shoot in raw, you can just go in and edit it and pull the shadows up or the exposure up or down. You've got a lot of maneuverability with that raw format as opposed to a JPEG. It takes up a lot more space, but there's no reason to shoot JPEG. Just don't do it. And don't be afraid to take pictures of basically anything that looks cool. If you're gonna get into that mindset of being able to actually see like through the focal lengths as if your eyes were a camera and see that's gonna look cool in a photo, you need to get practice taking photos and just seeing what it looks like, seeing what a camera at 16mm versus 35 versus 70 versus 200 actually looks like. I might do a whole video on candid shot photography like I did over this vacation. I know that this channel is more of a videography type thing, but if you guys want to see that, leave a comment below and I'll put it together for you. It'll be pretty quick, pretty simple, pretty easy. I learned a lot over this week of doing those candid shots for sure. For me, in the end, the best way for me to learn is to go out and do it. Like, just go out and film or take photos. The more photos I took, the better I think I got at it, and the more I'm really kind of adapting the things that I've learned through photography to videography so I can become not only a better photographer, but a better videographer. Use both ends of the camera art form spectrum, and yeah, you'll get better. Hopefully. I hope I will. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like below. I definitely appreciate that. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. I'm always happy to help a friend out. Do not forget, you're an awesome human being, and I'll see you later. Bye.